So let's take a look at the 4 core components of user experience. I'd like to start by saying that user experience is a more recent term. It's kind of an umbrella term. It's a good grab bag that covers a lot of closely related disciplines. The 4 I want to go over with you today are user research, information architecture, interaction design, and usability testing. Let's start with user research. This is different from what you might be familiar with from a marketing standpoint, demographics, psychographics. User research from a user experience standpoint means figuring out common user types, figuring out who your users are based on their behaviors, based on their information needs, based on the tasks that they're trying to carry out, and the expectations they have when they come to your product. User research is a lot of getting out of the building and interviewing people and developing profiles called personas that are sort of knowledge objects that you can keep and use to help focus your team on who you're designing for. Information architecture has to do with the structure of the content on your site or in your application. Basically, the information architect is going to figure out what information you have, what content you need, and organizing it into groups or silos or chunks that make sense from the user's point of view. Along with that, they're going to be designing how the user is going to navigate through this information space. Next up is the interaction design. Whereas information architecture was looking across your website or application, interaction design is looking at one particular scenario where a user is going through a process. Maybe that's the registration process, or maybe it's a step-by-step purchase process. Interaction design is figuring out the screens and then the modules in those screens that you need to do this and how they behave. Finally, we've got usability testing. This is my favorite part because it's interacting with real users. Either with a prototype or with your actual application. It means getting users, customers, to give it a try. And you watch them and see what they say, see what their reaction is, see whether or not they can actually do what you've designed the app to do. You can take your findings from that and get all kinds of insights into what's working and maybe even new features for your product. To sum up, user experience has 4 main parts. It's user research, information architecture, interaction design, and usability testing. In the next section, I'll give you an example, a checklist of how you can put this into practice.